man who had bought his liberty in the 1840s, but who later lost his freedom papers in a fire. Worse, one night Cornish was jumped by fiends intent on selling him back into slavery. By dint of will and brute strength, Cornish broke loose. Then, the next day in the public square, he attacked himself. Cornish slashed his Achilles tendons, drove a knife into a hip, and in other ways butchered his body, all to make himself useless for slavery. As he told the cowed crowd, he was willing to do worse, anything but be a slave again, for I was free. Now, some 20 years later, like others who stood against slavery, the scarred but free Sandy Cornish, about 70, was waiting for that dawn of a new day. For the true believers in freedom, the enslaved, the freed, and those who had always lived in liberty, it had been a very long wait indeed. Since 1641, when Massachusetts became England's first North American colony to legalize slavery. Since 1770, when Crispus Attucks took 2 musket balls to the chest during the Boston Massacre. Since black patriots fought so fiercely at the Battle of Lexington and Concord, then at Bunker Hill. When the Declaration of Independence deemed it self-evident that all men are created equal and entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we waited for the birth of a slavery-free new nation, but that was not to be. The U.S. Constitution and Slavery. The Constitution, completed in September 1787, does not include the words slave or slavery. The framers, a number of whom were slaveholders, instead used euphemisms. Example, person held to service or labor for someone enslaved. Parts of the Constitution that address slavery include the following 3 excerpts. An explanation follows each. Article 1, Section 2. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may be included within this Union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. For direct taxation and representation in Congress, each enslaved person is to be counted as 3/5 of a person. This allowed states with large populations of enslaved people to have more representation in Congress than if enslaved people weren't counted, as anti-slavery people wished, but less representation than if the enslaved were counted as whole persons, as slaveholders wanted. Article 1, Section 9. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person. Congress cannot abolish the slave trade until 1808, and a tax can be levied on the importation of human beings. Article 4, Section 2. No person held to service or labor in one state, under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulation therein, be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. Escape from slavery to a state prohibiting it does not translate into legal liberty. This fugitive slave clause also says that those who flee bondage are to be delivered up to their owners. Over the years, we rejoiced when a northern state abolished the abomination. We agonized when a slave state entered the Union. As the nation grew westward, we fought slavery's spread. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 was